The cranes that dominated the Midland, Texas skyline suddenly stood still, not because of the weather, not because of shutdowns, nor because of holidays, but because those who knew how to operate them made a silent and definitive decision and headed north, crossing the border into Montana 3 days earlier, leaving behind not only idle machines but an impossible-to-fill void. The gigantic gas pipeline project that stretched beneath those structures was already 7 months behind schedule and now faced something far worse than missed deadlines. The few remaining American welders were forced to work double shifts, battling against time and technical limitations, while the project manager, a man with 3 decades of experience in the energy sector, finally said aloud something no one expected to hear. He stated that it was no longer a matter of delay or budget, but rather a total impossibility of completion, because the people who mastered the critical welds had simply left, and there was no one else in the country with that specific skill. That moment marked the sound of a billion-dollar mistake in the making, and it all began with words spoken before cameras in Houston In a press conference following a meeting with energy industry leaders, a journalist questioned the historic agreements that allowed highly skilled Canadian professionals to work in the United States, agreements that had supported major projects for decades and filled a gap that the domestic workforce had never been able to fully address. However, the president's response took an unexpected turn, declaring that these workers were overrated, not essential, and could easily be replaced by Americans, perhaps even at a lower cost. He further stated that they should be grateful for the opportunity to work in the United States and that the country was doing them a favor by receiving them, not the other way around. These words, laden with contempt, didn't sound like a political strategy but rather a profound disconnect from the practical reality of those on the construction site, facing extreme cold, heavy rain, constant risks, and technical demands that few can meet. The reaction came faster than predicted. In just 3 hours, the Canadian Prime Minister didn't call for protests or fiery speeches. He simply executed a precise plan. The Department of Labor issued a notice recommending the professionals return within 30 days, citing the hostile environment created by the statements. Following the suspension of mobility agreements, an accelerated process was initiated to direct these workers to opportunities in other countries. A robust financial incentive was offered to ensure their return to Canada, with a significant bonus for those who committed to working domestically for 2 years, funded by trade tariffs. The message was clear and direct. If there is no respect here, there will be appreciation elsewhere. That same day, the speech reinforced that these professionals were not disposable or replaceable, but highly trained and worthy of recognition. Anyone who believed they could be replaced should try to do so, and that is exactly what began to be tested in the following 72 hours, quickly revealing the magnitude of the problem in Midland. A single team lost 14 specialized welders, rare professionals with certifications few possess across the continent, and the remaining workers recognized that they lacked the technical capacity to complete the most critical stages without that team. Calls were made to various contractors, and the response was always the same. There were no replacements available. For years in Pennsylvania, essential maintenance on a nuclear reactor had been postponed indefinitely after the departure of the Canadian team responsible for it. Extremely complex tasks, and the cost of this delay was already estimated in tens of millions, while in Manhattan a team of 11 metal structure specialists who had worked together for almost a decade simply abandoned a Skyscraper project, leaving behind not only an operational gap but the loss of a synchronicity built over years. The person in charge of the project was speechless when he realized that collective experience cannot be replaced with job advertisements, as it takes time, dedication, and mutual trust to exist and disappears in an instant when devalued. In Louisiana, a liquefied natural gas expansion project was abruptly halted with the departure of the responsible teams, and the completion forecast ceased to exist while losses accumulated into gigantic figures. These events were not isolated cases but symptoms of a larger reality. Deeply, the United States faces a massive shortage of skilled workers with hundreds of thousands of unfilled positions, while the average age of these professionals continually rises and the number of young people entering these careers has drastically decreased over the last few decades. This is the result of a cultural shift that has driven entire generations away from technical professions, promoting the idea that manual labor is inferior when in fact it underpins the foundations of modern infrastructure. The Canadian professionals who were there were not occupying undue spaces but rather filling essential gaps, allowing gigantic projects to advance and materialize. Now, in this scenario, it becomes evident that decisions based on perception and discourse can generate profound and immediate real consequences, affecting not only numbers and reports, but lives, schedules, and entire economies. If you've made it this far, leave a like and subscribe to the channel because every interaction helps this message reach more people and strengthens content that reveals truths that many have not yet seen. And remember, it's not just one click. Every action can be used to spread awareness and information to those who need to hear this story.